The more you stay psychologically tied to the affair partner, the more it infuses this rage and keeps you in this level of pain.
Today, we're going deep on confronting the affair partner. We've got 3 questions, 1 topic, and real answers. Let's get into it.
Danielle, the reason why most of our clients struggle to find healing in their recovery journey is because they spend their time holding on to the wrong envelope. Now, this envelope represents the affair partner. Okay, I want you to grab that. Now, you'll notice that it's bulky, it's heavy, it's containing all the details, all the facts, all the evidence, all the receipts that keep you trapped in your trigger, in your pain, and everything that you're trying to let go of. Okay? But what you really come to find out is that's not the envelope that you need at all. This is actually what you're searching for. This represents your healing. Now, you'll notice it's much smaller, it's much lighter, it's easy to access. And the fact of the matter is, you can't receive your healing while yet still holding on to the thoughts, to the triggers, to the psychological tie that you have to the affair partner. All right, well, the first question up is, I hate the woman my husband cheated with. I fantasize about confronting her. Will that help me heal or just keep me stuck?
Wow, a powerful question. And I'm going to say something that most people would never say. The fantasizing is completely normal. Like, you would expect to be fantasizing because something super detrimental just happened to you. You just experienced literally being blindsided by the person that is the closest to you, the affair, right? And so oftentimes, the hurt partner is going to fantasize because really what's happening is that the brain is trying to regain agency, right? The brain is trying to control the narrative. And what happens, just like in any scenario, if you've ever been caught off guard and somebody just comes up to you and tries to clock you and give you and argues with you, you will be sitting there like a deer in headlights until after the fact. And then after the fact, what happens is that you start having all these ideas of what you would have said, could have said, and should have said, right? I should have said this. Got some nerve talking to me like that. Da, da, da. So you start trying to rehearse and regain agency. It's the same thing that happens when there's a betrayal. You are the person that lost all the power in the situation, right? And so you're fantasizing about what you would do and how you would do it, confronting her, checking her, because at the end of the day, you want control. You want her to feel your pain. You want her to feel your wrath, right? And so that's what you're fantasizing about. I think the problem is that when we fantasize about things, it rarely goes the way we actually expected it to go. Like, oftentimes it goes left, right? And at the end of the day, the more energy you give to this negative thinking, every time you think about her, every time you have a mental argument about her, every time you do that, you're losing a little bit more of the power that you have already. So I think ultimately it's time to reframe, right? And the reframe looks like understanding that you don't have to confront her to actually move forward. Like, at the end of the day, it's not about the confrontation. It's really about, how am I going to move forward past this thing? How am I going to regain my agency and my control by detaching myself from these mental images of this woman who doesn't owe you anything, number one, right? She doesn't owe you, and she's not the one that made a covenant with you. She's not the one that broke the covenant with you, right? She's not the one that owes you anything. So the expectation that you're going to get that gratification isn't a good one. And actually focus on the real issue, which maybe you can speak to.
Well, I think what you said about fantasy is so real, because when most people think about a fantasy, it's bliss, it's a wonderful experience. But in this case, with an affair partner, this fantasy is fueled by hate. I mean, this woman says she hates this person. And it's not necessarily the person, but what this affair partner represents. She, in essence, represents everything that the betrayed spouse is not. Why? Because she's the one who was chosen. She represents the alternative other. And the fact that he chose someone else, and I hate his choice, but as a consequence, I have to hate her. And so what she represents, like this construct in the betrayed spouse's mind, she's the homewrecker. She's the one that destroyed our safety, our security, our very family. She represents the temptation, right? Because he was the one who chose her over his own self-control, discipline, and integrity. She is a woman who represents the upgrade, because she represents she's actually like the embodiment of the betrayed spouse's insecurities, whether it be age or body or beauty, sexuality, her personality, her freedom. She represents the trigger because every time I think about her, I'm fueled with anger. And so what we often see in relationships is that there's this dehumanization or demonization of the affair partner. So we can't acknowledge her for we can't call her name. She's got to be a whore or a slut or a prostitute or some other derogatory names. And not only do I have to refer to her like that, you must too. And so what happens is the more you stay psychologically tied to the affair partner, the more it infuses this rage and keeps you in this level of pain. So she's got to release this in order for her to heal.
I don't want to ignore the elephant in the room, which is the fact that it was your partner that betrayed you, right? And so we spend all of this time fantasizing on revenge towards the affair partner, and we're letting our spouse off the hook. And I think we do that because it's easier, right? I'm trying to restore my attachment with you, right? I have a bond with you, but you don't have no bond with her. And she doesn't have a bond with you. And so she doesn't really owe you anything, but it's like you're trying to get something out of this confrontation. And the focus really needs to be shifted on the person that actually owes you something. And that's your spouse, who was the one that broke the covenant, who was the one that did all the betraying, right? And focus on repairing the relationship from that angle. That's where the work begins, is focusing your energy in the right direction.
Absolutely.
So the next question is a call-in question from Kathy.
Everyone keeps telling me to take the high road and ignore her. But why should I have to be the bigger person when she knew he was married and did it anyway?
See, it's actually a continuation of what you just said. There's such a preoccupation on the affair partner and not the spouse. It kind of reminds me of a lot of movies you see where a spouse finds their partner in the act, right? Right in the act. And the first knee-jerk reaction is to jump on, beat down, tell off the affair partner. But the fact of the matter is, even though she represents the home wrecker because she destroyed the family, this was not a forced entry. She was led in the back door. Like, this was an inside job. And I think that it is an emotion or an anger that is redirected or misdirected, and it should be on the actual spouse because they're the ones, to your point, who had the covenant relationship with you.
Yeah, good point. And, I think also that when people say, just get over it, just let it go, I think that's some of the laziest advice I've ever heard, right? Because you're not the person that was betrayed. You're not the person that the foundation of everything that you know has been ripped from you. You're not the person that lost, perspective on your future, your present, and your past all in one felt swoop, right? So to just say, get over it, it's almost like it serves the people that say it because we don't like this uncomfortable version of you, right? So can you just get over it so that we can start feeling better about ourselves, right? So that's really irresponsible advice. I think that it's important to acknowledge that there was a terrible thing that happened. This actually broke the person. It hurt the person, okay? But also to validate that the need to take the high road, I think that is maybe the way it's being taken can sound threatening, because taking the high road isn't even about the other person. It's really about you being on the high road, right? Because as you change your trajectory and start focusing on self-improvement, right? How I'm showing up in the world, you get to focus on being proud of how you show up and how you grow after that. And I think that's the main key takeaway, is that after this, you've got to move on, right? Who are you becoming as a result of what happened to you? And by being stuck in ruminating and resentfulness and bitterness, that's not serving your future goals, and you deserve to be proud of you, period.
Absolutely. And a part of this high road that the question is even attached to is to ignore her, which I just think is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just like saying, stop thinking about the red monkey. Well, that's the thing that you're going to be thinking about because you're so preoccupied with that. And, when we take couples through this recovery process, obviously there's a point where we encourage the former unfaithful partner to end the affair again with the proper messaging. And so it's his or her decision to give a closing message to the affair partner. Usually the betrayed spouse is sitting there silent. She may have something on her heart. Maybe there's something that she needs to get off of her chest. Maybe she needs to have her own closure. So in order to keep these conversations from being trapped in her own mind, there needs to be a final conversation that even the betrayed spouse has with the affair partner so that she could finally put it to rest, move forward, and begin to heal.
So you're suggesting that maybe there's an opportunity that needs to be created where the hurt partner has an opportunity to get something off of her chest to the affair partner.
Sure.
Right. Now that would serve a lot of people. I know that that's something that would definitely need to be controlled, right? But that sounds like reparations, right? It's just like you took something from me, right? And I have to be silent and I have to just walk away and I have to get over it and take the high road, right? So it's really recognizing that taking this high road is not about letting her off the hook.
Exactly.
And that's what it feels like and it sounds like. Like, I have to let you off the hook. I have to give you grace that you don't deserve. I have to be sympathetic. I have to be the bigger person. It's not really about being the bigger person. It's not even about her. It's about you, your internal work, and who you're becoming. And also, just like the last comment, it's about focusing your energy in the area that's going to reap you the best results, which is working on your relationship with you and your spouse. That's the key.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we take our final question, we are already preparing for our next episode. So if you have a question that you want answered, go ahead and drop your comment below right now. Also, if you like listening to podcasts, we're available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So definitely check us out on all streaming networks.
And maybe you're watching this episode right now saying, man, this is hitting us exactly where we are. And as great as this podcast is, we realize that we really need help. There's a lot of therapists out there that may be able to serve you, but what we do is uniquely different because when you're in an affair, weekly traditional sessions typically don't seem to be enough. And that's why we offer a 3 to 5 day marriage intensive that is truly transformational, that will get you to a place of healing and marital restoration. So please go to the website at couplesacademy.org, set up a discovery call, and let's see how we can serve you today.
So let's get into this last question, Hasani. It says, I've started dressing better, working out, and succeeding at work since I found out about the affair. But if I'm honest, everything I'm doing is to prove something to her, not to heal myself. Is that a problem?
I think it's a serious problem because based upon this question, everything that she's doing is focusing on the external. Like she wants to get in the gym, she wants to work out, she wants to dress well. And I think that she's doing this because typically the betrayed spouse assumes the reason why you chose the affair partner is she had to be prettier. She had to have a better body. She had to have some amazing attribute that drew you in. And interestingly enough, overwhelmingly, the majority of affairs that take place may not necessarily have anything to do with a physical type of attraction. Of course, there's some attraction, but the attraction may not be physical. In fact, in our book, Moving Forward After Infidelity, there's this chapter where we talk about the hidden attraction profile. And there's 8 core components to it, and not a single one has it to do with anything physical. It could be an attachment style that comes from your childhood that you found in this dynamic. It could be a shared hobby or interest. It could just be great communication. There's so many other pulls that bring you into an inappropriate relationship. And so you're chasing the wind if you think I got to look a certain way and dress a certain way and have a certain type of body, because that may not solve the actual issue that caused the affair in the first place.
100% agree. And also, there's another angle to look at that. She took all this time, or it took this crisis in her life for her to feel worthy enough to get in the gym, to start to excel and exceed at work, and just to do better in life, right? So where was all that motivation before the affair? And it's true that oftentimes a crisis strikes in your life and it is the motivator. Sometimes people have a heart attack and you should have been eating those ribs all your life, but it wasn't until you had that heart attack or that stroke that was the catalyst, right? That brought about change, right? So my thing is embrace the change, embrace the positive things that are coming out of it, because that's the point, right? It's who are you becoming as a result of the crisis that took place in your life. That's where the real power is, right? And start to embrace that and to focus on that, and not use that as a mirror or a reflection about how you compare yourself with this fantasy affair partner image that you have in your head, that you're competing with her. Compete with yourself, right? There's no better competitor than you competing with yourself to be the best version of yourself.
And here's a reality, and we've talked about this for years, Danielle. A lot of times when the betrayed spouse is asking questions about this affair partner, it usually comes from a place of somehow them thinking that the affair partner is better. She must have been better. He must have been better. But oftentimes it's not a matter of better. What the unfaithful partner is in search of is something new and different. Because if you compare the spouse to the affair partner, oftentimes the spouse far exceeds the affair partner in a number of different categories.
Truly.
And so it's not about her being any better.
Right.
It's just about the thing that the person was longing for. They felt like they couldn't find it within their marriage. So
Exactly.
they went outside their marriage to get what was waiting for them at home the entire time.
Yeah, and let's not validate the new and the different, right? Because at the end of the day, right, we don't want it to sound like, okay, you need to become new and you need to become better for you to hold on to your spouse. But this is something that we say all the time, is that we are always divorcing ourselves from our old selves, creating a new dynamic and a new versions of ourselves to keep things exciting, right?
Exactly.
So it does go back to, like, the fact that this crisis took place in your marriage, and now all of a sudden you have the spunk to do something to be better, right? Maybe the shift should be like, I could be doing this in the midst of my marriage. I could become the new in the midst of my marriage on both sides, right? Different perspective to think about. But no, not validating that we need new and there should be new. At the end of the day, we're all like this. Like, as human beings, we want to acquire different experiences in life. Why not make that with your spouse?
Of course, because
why not make it with your partner, you know?
in marriage, new becomes normal.
Yeah.
And you have to keep that spark alive, that passion alive, and enhance throughout the course of your relationship, not because there's some temptation or pressure, but you should do it to go to a higher pitch within your union.
And it's exciting.
Yeah.
And I want to see a new version of you every year, but I want it to be you.
Yes.
Okay. If this episode hit home, subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And if you're going through relapsing or feeling like you're losing yourself, drop your question in the comment below. We read every single comment, and your question could end up on the next episode.